Welcome everybody to Talk That Talk. Welcome everybody to Talk That Talk. Where we have the unfiltered, unscripted, uncomfortable conversation. Welcome everybody to Talk That Talk. We have the unfiltered, unscripted, uncomfortable conversation about band, HBCU band culture, music education, and more. I am your host, Julian J. Luke, and I'm the owner and the operator here at Passion Is Network. Remember that you can go to www.realtalkthattalk.com and get all of your Talk That Talk merchandise. All you got to do at the end of all of your stuff that you put in your bag, all you got to do is type in HBCU band. You get 30% off your purchase. It's that simple, right? All right. Anyway, man, it has been a very interesting week. A lot of stuff has happened this week. You already know what the subject is today. We are going to get into that. But first and foremost, I'm going to go ahead and do this. Boom. There we go. The Luke Report. Oh, shoot. I changed the name. You know, I'm really working on this name. So I like the Luke Report. I don't know about anybody else, but I like the Luke Report. So I'm going to go with it for right now. If you got another suggestion, though, go ahead and put it in the comments. It is what it is. All right, man. So let me go ahead and get to the news right now, everything that's going on. First off, A.D. Bonner. Now, if you don't know who A.D. Bonner is, he is a graduate of Grambling State University. He was a member of the marching band, the world fame, and he was a drum major during that time. If you've ever seen that like, I guess you want to say cartoonish drawn poster with the drum major in the middle, sitting right in the middle with his hands like that, that's AD, right? But he's also a band director here in the DFW area at Lancaster High School. Lancaster, not Lancaster. It looks like Lancaster, but it is Lancaster. I don't know what's up with these Dallas folk. To me, that's just so weird. But anyway, apparently he was released from his position, and I'm actually going to read you the petition that came out that was circulating around. On Wednesday, September 13th, 2023, the school district administration team took action against Mr. Bonner and put him on paid administrative leave because of an internal investigation. On that same day, while at practice, several district leadership members came to address the band, including the auxiliaries. The chief of communications, Ms. Kimberly Simpson, proceeded to inform the band that Mr. Bonner would be out for a few days. However, according to the email sent to the parents later that evening, it can only be interpreted as if Mr. Bonner is anticipated to be out for far much longer than a few days, according to the calendar. With it being right in the thick of our season and with many important performances coming up, it would only be right if our leader is there leading and teaching us. And so the way it looks like he was just kind of let go randomly. People didn't expect it. I don't even know if he expected it. Now, I will kind of give a quick update. I kind of heard that has kind of been settled. I don't know yet because I haven't received any information or seen any information floating around. So if you guys out there have any updates on what's happening with Brother Bonner, go ahead and put it in the comments, or you can send us an email at realtalkthattalk@gmail.com, or you can send it to us at the Instagram at realtalkthattalk. But for right now, the only information that I have was A.D. Bonner was let go of his position because of an internal investigation, and we will find out more information on that. Next on the list, man, I'm gonna tell you right now, I've been watching a lot of marching band. I don't know if it was me or there just wasn't a lot this particular week, but from what I've seen, I'll just put it that way. I don't know if I'm impressed or not. I really don't know. I really don't know if I'm impressed or not. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's just I'm looking for something more. Maybe it's I'm looking for something different. I really don't know. But I'm telling you, from what I keep seeing, to me, it's just a repeat of everything else that I've seen before. And I'm just not really impressed. Now, I will say this, UAPB did have a high school band day. And I really appreciate that. I love it when programs have these high school band days and are able to bring these kids from these local areas. I think those things are super dope. And the reason why I think those things are super dope is really because it gives the band a way to be able to recruit. One of the things that I love seeing is just being able to see those kids come out. But here's the thing. I would like to see a lot of those kids end up in the uniforms. I think that's one of the biggest things that ends up kind of like making me feel a little way. But I also realize that they just go because they want to have the experience and probably because their band director goes, right? Or makes them go. But I still appreciate and I love seeing the high school band days and the high school kids performing with those university band programs. I think it's super dope. So shout out to them. UAPB and Miles was last week. Yeah, I did see that. Again, y'all got to give me a second. I'm communicating in two different places. But yeah, I did see that. And again, my position kind of still stands. I just haven't really seen anybody who's really knocking my socks off yet. And I feel like some things are just a repeat of years previous or years prior. Now, I will say this, and I guess, you know, my guy from HBCU Band Talk is going to enjoy this. I still and will continue to feel that I believe that Bethune has the best sounding band in HBCU right now. Best sounding band, cleanest sound by far. That's kind of where I stand with that. Because if I'm not mistaken, they just got finished performing for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I watched that performance. And I mean, it's a typical Bethune performance. I mean, you don't really expect much different from them. But what I will say is, by far, cleanliness from top to bottom, I prefer to hear their sound more than anything. But I also know that a lot of us are looking for the crank up, and that's a whole nother conversation. I don't know, man. I want to try to see if it's even possible to put those two in different categories, right? I don't know if that's a thing. I don't even know if we want to really have that conversation, or is that conversation worth having? Should we put marching band in two different categories? Should we put the crank up in a different category than the actual field performance? I don't know. I really don't know, because to me, it's an all around thing, you know? So I'm just gonna, I don't know. Y'all tell me in the comments how you guys feel about it. That's kind of where I am with that. But anyway, moving forward, give me 1 second. Boom, boom, and boom. Okay. Anyway, moving forward. So on last week, something happened that I did not make light of. And so I myself want to apologize for that, but I'm going to make it right today. So our guy, DJ Arnold, DJ the Tape Master, when he came on, or before he came on, he had this, he you know, we had been talking back and forth, and, you know, we still talk on and off, but he was saying, I'm not going to hold nothing back except for one thing. And I was like, all right, cool. I don't got no problem with that. If you ain't going to hold nothing back except for one thing, then by all means, don't hold nothing back except for one thing. And he said, the only thing I'm not going to talk about is what's going to happen on September 28th. I said, what are you talking about? And, well, no, not September 20th. Was it September? Whatever. Something 28th. And I said, all right, cool. No problem. I got you. We ain't even going to talk about it. I ain't even going to mention it. So on and so forth, right? So the week goes by, we have the whole show, you know, things happen. And as I'm looking through the videos, I'm like, man, you know, I'm looking at videos, and then it was the Southern and I want to say Alabama State game. During that performance, I randomly scrubbed through somebody who was proposing at that game. And so I was like, oh, shoot, that's nice. And I went past it. Well, after the show on Wednesday, DJ hit me up the day of the show, but because I was getting ready for the show, I couldn't pick it up. But after the show, I want to say maybe a day or two later, he was like, "Hey, did you get my TikTok?" I was like, "Yeah, I got it, but I didn't get a chance to really look at it." And he was like, "Well, did you get the YouTube?" I was like, "What are you talking about? I didn't get a YouTube." And then he was like, "Man, here, I'll send it back to you." So it turns out that my guy and our guy, friend of the family, DJ, has went and gotten married and well, not gotten married yet, but he has proposed. And again, that was something that I already knew that was going to happen. We had that conversation about it, but he wanted to keep it under wraps, and so he did. I don't even know if this thing is playing right now. Y'all tell me if this thing is playing audio, because last time we did this, it was audio playing at the same time. I'll wait for somebody to say if it's audio playing. I'm gonna wait. 3, 2, 1. See, appreciate you, Malik. But anyway, but yeah, so that's my man DJ. That's his new fiance. He proposed right there at the Southern game. So, you know, I think that's super dope. So I definitely want to give him a big shout out and say congratulations to him. Let me see if this thing works on here. Where is it at? Where is it at? There we go. So I want to say congratulations to him. Big shout out to him. I want to go ahead and give him his respect and his flowers and all that kind of stuff, because obviously, you know, he's a friend of this of the Passion Is family. He's a legend in the game, and we want to go ahead and give him his flowers for that. So congratulations, DJ. I'm sorry I didn't bring it up on last week, but I'm bringing it up this week. Also, that has happened this week or in this past week. Something else great has happened. Clark Atlanta University. Clark Atlanta, and I want to say appreciate my guy Malik for making this video relevant and putting it out there. Again, I don't really understand why when I click this thing and I put on, I mute it, it all of a sudden makes noise. Anyway, Clark Atlanta has new uniforms, and I am kind of happy for them, man. I think they said it's been about 15 years since they've had a new uniform, and it's great to be able to see them in a new uniform, and they look bright and shiny and good and red. And the great thing about it is CAU was out there for that performance. The funny thing about Clark Atlanta for me is just the fact that it's really weird because I can't ever not see Drumline now. Like, not necessarily because of the band, but when I watched the field show, all I saw was Drumline. I can't get Drumline out of my head for some reason. And maybe because it was such a major movie during the time of, what was it, 2002, 2001, 2002 time. And I watched a lot of Drumline, and I'm gonna be very honest with you guys. I wasn't, the duality for me as it related to that movie was just the fact that I thought it was not necessarily the most accurate depiction of what HBCU band was like, but it was all we had at the time. So, and I always tell people when it comes to Drumline, if you look at Drumline from the perspective of not being in band, like if you take yourself out of the HBCU band spectrum and you just really just watch the show as just the movie, it's actually a really good movie. So, you know, on multiple occasions, I had to, you know, sit back and not watch it in that vein. You know, then it became a good movie for me. So shout out to Clark Atlanta University. I know that I went off on a complete tangent with that, but shout out to Clark Atlanta University for their new uniforms. Much deserved, well needed, and congratulations to them. Also, going back to the UAPB high school thing, I think they said they had 176 dancers. That's dope. That's dope. You know, regardless of how somebody may feel or how we may feel about university band programs or certain band programs, whether we feel that they're top dog or not, the fact that they're able to get those type of students to show up for their programs or to show up for their camps, man, that says a lot. And so we got to make sure that we give them their flowers and we commend them at all ages and all stages. So once again, man, shout out to UAPB. Shout out to my guy, DJ. Shout out to Clark Atlanta. Shout out to Bethune and their Jacksonville Jaguar performance. Again, I still think that they are the best sounding HBCU band right now. Best sounding, cleanest HBCU band. That's where I'm going to stand with that. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of this because we're not doing I forgot what I called it now. What did I call it? The loop report? I don't even remember. See, I'm the one who named it. See, that's why I say I'm gonna need for you guys to go ahead and help me with that because I don't know. That's yeah, I don't know. Anyway, man, I'm gonna go ahead and bring my guy in, man. I haven't seen this man in a month of Sundays, man. So I'm gonna I'm very excited to catch up with him. I'm gonna go ahead and let him get a little sip on as he pours a drink at his table. Not that kind of drink though. It's water. It's water. I'm trying, yeah, I got it. All right, man. Let's go ahead and bring him in. What's going on, bro?
What's up, doctor?
What up? What up?
Hold on 1 second. Hold on.
See now I let him in. Now he hit me with the hold on 1 second, man. See this is what happens, when you try to do stuff for black folks, man. but we gotta hurry up and not only hurry up and get to the big meat. The pause. Never never mind, man. Sometimes when you just kind of talking off the dome, you just say the wrong thing, and that was the wrong thing. That was the wrong thing. How you been, man?
I've been cooling, bro. I've been cooling, working hard. Band is growing, and we're good. And we're doing some big things over here. Homecoming is next week.
Woo.
So yeah. But if, for those that don't know, we do have a fundraiser going on. We have Double Good Popcorn. You know how that is. We're trying to raise our funds this year. It's a different year, so we're trying to raise all the funds we can to get to Langston University on their high school day on October 7th. So we got a $10,000 quote trying to raise these funds, man. So please support. Please, please, please support. Every dollar is going towards this trip.
Absolutely. And if you haven't had that double good popcorn, it is definitely double good. So you might want to go ahead and get it. As a matter of fact, when you get a chance, put the link inside of the chat so that we can make sure that everybody gets it, and then I can also put it up as well. Because if you're in here, if you're watching right now, let's go ahead and support, man, because it's necessary. We gotta keep supporting. Okay. So let's go ahead and get to the big thing and the big conversation that's happening right now in the news. So as you all know, it's some things that then went down in Birmingham, Alabama, man. So what happened? It was at Minor High School, and apparently it was a major game that was going down at Minor High School with Minor High School and another band. I don't know what the other band was, but what I will say is. It was a major thing. So what we know, the information that we do know, is that not only was it at it was Minor High School band. The band director's name is Johnny Mims. He's been the band director since 2018, and so. Apparently there was an altercation there. We're gonna watch the clip. Now I will tell you this: we're gonna watch the clip, but we're not gonna watch the clip in its entirety because of the fact that there is a what's the word I'm looking for? A violence warning on it, and so a parental, so on and so forth. So I do want to make sure that I try to follow all the necessary guidelines. But just remember that this particular situation took place 18 minutes after the game was over. This particular situation took place 18 minutes after the game was over. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get to it. Let's look at the clip.
out my face. That's okay. I got my troops coming. I got my troops coming. They're going to sweep their asses out. Okay? Call your man. Call your man.
Load him up before I contact the superintendent.
Call your man. Call your man. Tell him to stop.
Cut it. We got to go. The minute's over.
We finna go. Where am I going now?
Cut it.
What you gonna do?
That's okay. I'm finna contact the school.
Do it,
Because they cut it.
That's fine. That's cool. Okay, cool. That's cool. All right, you got it. Cool.
That's okay. I'm finna send them a bill for the overtime.
They got to go. Hey, ready, 1, 2, ready, 1, 2, ready, and.
That's okay. Because in the morning.
All right, so there we go. Again, we're not going to show the whole thing as it transpired, the physical altercation, so on and so forth. But eventually, what ended up happening is they ended up tussling back and forth, and Brother Mims was tased not once, not twice, but actually 3 times. I think they hit him once, and I guess it didn't take effect, so they hit him again. I think in the lower torso, and then they hit him a 3rd time. And so that's when they took him down, so on and so forth. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it for a second. So first things first, I'm supposed to have another guest coming in here. Obviously, Quan is here. Portia will be here hopefully soon. But let's talk about it. First things first. I see a couple of things wrong with that video. I see a couple of things wrong with that transaction. The first thing that I see wrong with that transaction is, who was the guy that the officer spoke to first? Because it wasn't Mims. My problem is, and this is the conversation that I had with somebody earlier today. I think, I had this conversation with Rick earlier today. If he is the assistant band director, it almost seems like he was either dumbfounded by the communication from the officer, or he was dismissive of the communication with the officer. My biggest thing is, he's supposed to be the buffer between the head band director and the officer. Now, but what I'll also say is, in my opinion, I felt as though the officers came with a different level of animosity anyway. I felt I assumed that he was an assistant as well. But I felt like he was a little aggressive upon approach, right? But I still feel like whoever he is, I think Malik said he's Mr. Mays, he should have been a better buffer between the officers and Mr. Mims. That conversation between Mr. Mays and the officer should have been, hey, look, okay, we hear you. Can we just finish this last song up? We just want to get to the end, and then we'll leave out of the stands. Instead, it seemed as if his communication was very, very small and very, very short, to the point where then the officer dismissed him and then went over to Mr. Mims. My thing was, and here was the bigger issue. The officer came up to Mims very aggressive. I'm not going to say it, but Mr. Mims could have handled that a little bit better. If the first, and I watched Roland Martin this morning, and if the first interaction that you had with that officer was get out my face, at that point, because, and again, I'm supposed to have somebody else coming on here to be able to help clarify this. So I really hope he's able to make it today. But if the first conversation was get out my face, as an officer with the mindset of the authority that I have, I'm not going to let you, at this point, I feel disrespected. And I'm not going to be disrespected by no band director. You see what I'm saying? So I think that get out my face was the catalyst to really, truly provoking everything else. Also, during this conversation, the officers literally said, we're going to take you to jail. Mr. Mims gave 2 thumbs up, and he kept going. So at that point, he understood what the level and the grounds were, and the communication was for, him continuing to go forward. So, and I agree. So this is true, and this is true by some degree. The person who was yelling in, or the lady who was yelling in, was an officer, but she was stating the fact that she was going to let the superintendent know what he was doing. Now, if you really paid attention to the conversation or what was happening, you also would have heard them say, you're going to pay our overtime. Because this is one thing that I understood, and what I learned my years at being at Prairie View. The thing is, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people know, or people don't know, the truth of the matter is, those cops are hired for a specific time. Anytime over that is overtime. And if district ain't paying that overtime, then they trying to get them up out of there. So when I heard that automatically clicked, like, well, they ain't, the district not gonna pay it. So for me, that was something that, all of a sudden a light bulb that went off in my brain as I was hearing this. Now, moving forward, once they got the clarification of the fact that he said, good, you're gonna arrest me, congratulations, thank you, right? Then at that point, they should have backed off. Because the understanding was, hey, we already are going to arrest this brother. Let him finish. And then when he's done, we're going to arrest him. But what they did was, not only did they have that conversation with him, but they continued to speak to him and speak with him. And then when he brought the song back in, then they felt even more disrespect. Oh, he's just going to keep playing. He's going to keep playing. Well, you done already told him that you was going to arrest him at this point. So, yeah, he was going to keep playing. He's already aware that you're going to arrest him. Now, here's a better way that I feel like Mr. Mims could have handled that. Because the truth is, he was playing neck, right? Like, and not only was he playing neck, but at some point he was in the drum and tuba break. He could have looped the drum and tuba break, leaned over and said, hey, I got you. I understand. Can we finish this up real quick? This is my last song. I ain't got nothing else. That would have at least shown that you were trying to be somewhat compliant and not combative, right? Now, when he comes up off the podium, we really don't know what took place. He could have, um, he could have, you know, been in the process of being detained, and then he probably was fighting it. We don't know, because of the fact that it was dark, and then then the video catches up with him later on. But here's the bigger part. Here's the bigger thing. At some point, the officers had to realize their kids, their students around. And because of that, they could have handled that better. Honestly, the tasing part for me was where I was like, bruh, you got to draw the line somewhere. Somebody has to be the civil person in this, right? Because in my personal opinion, the director, Mr. Mims, is already in the mindset of band director going against a different band. So we're already in like an attack mode like that. I mean, like, let's be real. Let's be real. The truth of the matter is, when we get into these quote unquote fifth quarter battles and things of that nature, we're getting in them as a rivalry. So our mindset is in a rivalry. So his mindset probably was there. So I don't think that he was trying to be combative off jump. I think that he was still in his competitive mode. And so I'm pretty sure that when they pulled him down, or when he got down off the podium, that energy was still up, the adrenaline was still there. And I'm pretty sure, and I'm just guessing, I'm just speculating here, that they tried to come to him and they tried to detain him, probably in an aggressive way. We just really don't know. But again, I just really feel like that could have been handled better from the officer's side because there were students around. When you add that variable into it, then that becomes a problem, because of the fact that and I want to say that Roland Martin said this, or somebody on Roland Martin said this. What they said was it was multiple officers there. None of them were in a situation of danger. None of them was in a situation where they could have been. You're talking about a band director and a whole bunch of officers, students with instruments. I just really and I understand that they weren't in a area where they were threatened enough to be able to pull tasers and tase somebody 3 times. So that's kind of where I am on that. Let me see if we can bring him back in. You in there, brother?
Yeah, I'm here, Doc. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you were able to watch the video, but what are your thoughts on this particular situation?
So, so for me, it's a double entendre, I guess, if we want to say it like this, because I see fault on both parties. At the end of the day, like let's be real. I've never been in the heat of battle to where I be like telling somebody get out my face. Now, when it came to him and it was like, hey, y'all gotta go, I would have simply replied, hey, this is our last song. We about to roll out. Simple, right? Now, I know in the district that I reside in, a lot of the times it's a, a, a school district officer. Isn't I don't know if that was the county, what I'm saying, person or whatnot, but it really got out of hand because I heard some of your thoughts earlier. An officer that has basically immunity for whatever it really for the most part does, with a gun and a taser, you threatened by a band director, you know what I'm saying, and basically could have been like, all right, because on the video the man said, all right, this our last song, and then you hear one female officer, another male, no, we said cut it off now. That's when I feel like, bro, now you just being a bully. He said like I'm about to move, you know what I'm saying, but I also feel like there are some cops, not all, have that bully syndrome. Maybe they got picked on when they were younger, and they just trying to flex their authority, which is really uncalled for. We talking about band, bro. And I've had a situation
with a district officer, like the staff, with the same similar situation where they pushed one of my kids. And then when I went back, all of them stood up and was like, "What's good?" And I was like, "I'm about to die on this hill fighting for my kid." And then when it came out, the captain of the district was like, "We apologize because everything that we say we're trained to do, we didn't do. No one de-escalated. Those officers didn't de-escalate anything. They kept pushing it forward. You feel what I'm saying?" So, and then from what's the sounds of it, there were African American officers too, in front of kids that they don't have the greatest rapport with. So you got a whole bunch of kids that now look at officers like, you basically tased my daddy, who's my band figure, or who's my father figure. It really was uncalled for. It really you know, it was really unnecessary. And at the end of the day, you could have had your choice words. He said, "It's my last song. It is what it is, and we call it a day." And they reported it to the principal if they really felt some type of way. But to tase, man, that's really uncalled for, bro. They were just flexing authority, but he could have handled himself better too, because we all know as African Americans we have to de-escalate situations when officers don't. So it's just an unfortunate situation overall. But ain't nothing gonna happen from it. Just being honest, in my opinion.
Well, I don't know. I slightly disagree with that. But first of all, I want to say I did go ahead and pin the link to the chat because I really want to hear a lot of different opinions on this, a lot of different sides, man. You know, it's one thing to have people like Roland Martin to have these conversations, but to have band directors, educators to have this conversation, I think it means a lot more because we're a part of the craft and a part of that art, and so and understanding our sides help, right? But no, I agree with what you said, except for one thing. Yes, he did say we got one song, but if again, and this is where I agree, the other part I agree with you with, they were already flexing, right? So the truth of the matter is, as soon as he said get out my face, that was the first thing they heard. So everything else goes out of the window. Even if you say, all right, this is our last song, well, they ain't trying to hear that at this point, because you didn't already say get out of my face. So now I feel disrespected. You didn't disrespect me in front of my boys. You didn't disrespect me. I got a gun on my hip. You didn't disrespect. You see what I'm saying? So at that point, they're not thinking, all right, he said it's his last song. And that point, they like, man, I ain't trying to hit this dude no more.
But but
He disrespecting the badge, baby.
but see, but that's on some feeling stuff. Here's my point, bro. Officers go through a lot. Like real talk. I'm not gonna diminish their job. Would they put their life on the line for? One of my crab brothers, I was with him this weekend. Larry James. You know him.
Yeah,
You know.
he the one that's supposed to be coming on the show. I hit him with the text message, Daddy. He ain't hit me back. I'm
Okay.
hit him.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he's my CB and I love him to life. My whole point is this. He's explain how at the end of the day how he wants to go home, and how as officers, bro, like some people got to do better in regards of their training on how everybody wants to go home. At the end of the day, bro, you how as teachers, now mind you, teachers, they teach us to be mindful of our choice of words, our attitude, to de-escalate. But you have an entire agency, a state, local, a state or federal agency employee that has immunity to fire a weapon. Understand this: fire a weapon, a deadly weapon, and they have the right to be emotional. Come on, bro. Like it gotta be some balance too, bro. It gotta be some balance. Like think about this: if a kid told you to get out of your face, which I'm pretty sure they have, can you punch them in their face? No, you can't even put them out the classroom.
I
So how
mean,
was that? How was that
can
fair,
you
bro?
can you punch him in the face? Should you punch him in the face? But I get what you're saying, though. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Oh my gosh. Anyway, but no, you're absolutely right. One of the things too that I'm thinking about, and this is part of a conversation that we were having in our group chat, our group text, and shout out to Chuck. Um, we were all having this conversation, Chuck, me, and Crystal. But what about educating, right? The truth of the matter is, some people are just really misinformed on what happens as it pertains to what our bands do. And I think that miseducation is the thing that puts us in these, or I ain't gonna say us, but is one of the things that led to this particular type of situation. I feel it's like a lack of the education of what we do. Now, one of the things, or one of the comments that Crystal brought up was the fact that in her area, because of the crime rate, that there is no, staying after, so on and so forth. But again, I think that education needs to happen where, it may be a regional thing, but it still needs to happen. There still needs to be a level of education of stating, all right, this is what our bands do after games. They should be allowed to have 3 songs apiece, or 4 songs apiece, or 2 songs apiece, and when those songs are completed, by at the end, when those songs are completed, then and only then can you then escort them out. They are expected to leave. So do you think that that's something that should be happening?
Give me 1 second, bro. I will answer that.
All right. Well, Crystal, do you think that's something that should be happening? Yeah, I can hear you. Yes. Shut up, y'all. All right, go ahead. No, I was just saying, should people be educated? Anyway, should people be educated on what our bands do? Yeah, I understand what you're saying about the idea that it's a regional thing. So like where you are, it just doesn't happen. But in areas where they do allow it, should the people like officers be educated on what we do and what the expectation is? You get 3 songs and then y'all out. You get 2 songs and then you're out. You know what I'm saying? So what do you think, Crystal?
All right, so we have fifth quarters, but they're nowhere to the extent and length that like it happens down south. That's just real. Um, when I was at my last gig, first of all, the police were in on any time we were going to stay a little later. Like the police were, and I think what a lot of people don't know is there's a lot of communication that should happen with the athletic director, the school police officers or whatever security is around, the directors and the staff. Every year, like our homecoming was always a big deal. It was in the Raven Stadium. So those logistics look like you get a script and it says at this time you hit the field. At this time, you're off the field. This band gets this much time, that band gets this much time. If you are the losing team, you don't get to play at the end. Only the winning team band gets to play, have the last word. Like that's how it was always scripted. And all parties, all stakeholders were at the table for that conversation. Like the school police officer, we're still good friends because he sat in just as many, of those communications as assistant band director would, and he was educated. I'm gonna tell you how crazy it is. My dad called me. My dad worked for DC government. He attended enough games. He called me and he said, "Crystal, did you see this video?" I said, "Yeah, Dad." He was like, The man said he was finished last. He said everybody knows that the band's gonna play a few songs at the end of the game. The crowd looks for it, and this is up north. And my dad, a DC government worker, had the good common sense to know that this is like normal band culture. And I am the only band kid in my family. So if a DC government worker remembers the rules of engagement, I kind of feel like it was a lot more flexing in this situation. I don't think that this was like the officers being completely ignorant. Do I think this might change the rules of engagement? Do I think that there might be a lot more communication between athletic directors and school police officers and all those involved in these games? I'm pretty sure. White schools sure as hell do. And I'm just gonna tell y'all that anytime we played at a white school, we got a script. It said you can play for 3 minutes, you can play for 4 minutes, you can play for 2 minutes, and that's it. And somebody with a clipboard will be staring at you trying to see, because they know historically we like to take our time, so to speak, when it comes playing. They will be looking at me like, you gonna stop before this clock hit that number? And I'm like, I got it. So it might, I think it's going to be a little more organized than we might care to want it to be. But just like Robert Champion, all it takes is one egregious situation where things things go back to the drawing board and people start to say, "Hey, it can't be like this no more," because nobody likes lawsuits. That's just plain and simple. And I don't care if you're in the north or the south. Nobody likes lawsuits. And this one is probably a lawsuit swarming, and ain't no school district gonna want to be responsible for it.
Yep.
But so to piggyback from that, this is my thing. Should it be education, so to speak? Yeah, but I also look at it from what we are taught as African American people when dealing with cops, and I don't care if the cop black, white, and different, whatever, indigenous, whatever. We all know this. You live to fight another day. Brito. I hate to say it like that, but that's just the real world we live in. We live to fight another day. No, I didn't run that red light, officer, but you know what? You gave me that ticket anyway because I want to go home. I fight that in the court system. But some of the approach, and I'm not saying, and I get it, bro. He a man too. He like, bro, like get up out my face. Now we don't know what was said prior to. We don't know if the cops had told him something earlier. We don't know what. But what we have to realize is we as regular civilians and citizens will lose initially against the badge. So my thing is pick your poison. When they told him, hey bro, you need to move around, yes ma'am. This our last song right here. Like I'm not arguing with you, bro. Because you have like what if that body cam, like, I mean, because let's be real, within the last really 7 years, 7 to 10 years, body cam footage has really been used, right? What if this was 2006, my crab year, and they would have tased him or shot him or did something worse? Then what? They would have wrote that report, because that blue wall is real. They would have wrote that report how they saw fit. Now you dead behind proving a point. Come on, bro. Like, as much as I feel like those officers pushed it over the envelope and was wrong, bro, that's your life. You be responsible for your life. You be responsible for them kids. Because I also, let's be real, as an educator, what you showed your kids too. It wasn't like there was harm. Now, you turn up when it's behind the kids though. If one of them officers would have handled them kids wrong, you turn up behind your kids. But they approached you, and yeah, it was wrong. All right, my bad. This our last song. You know what I'm saying? But for you to be like, get out my, like, it's like you wanted to smoke, bro. And I hate to say it like this, they gave it to you. It don't make it right, but that's real. We live in a different reality than those people with that badge, and you know that. Everybody don't like let's be honest about where we live and how for our forefathers and ancestors have taught us to approach. And you can try to be big and bad if you want. You gonna lose in the beginning, bro, and we all know that. So educated, I don't know. Live to fight another day, bro. I've had situations where I'm telling you, I've had a whole agency stand up against 30 people, and it was me and them 80 officers. And I'm not gonna repeat what they told me, but it's damn that was like a game.
Mm. Now I do want to add this very quickly. From what I understand, the altercation happened 18 minutes after the game was over. So there was time. I will say that. So we can't say that he wasn't given time. Let me go ahead and let's get Portia's thoughts. First of all, what's up? What's up, Portia? Smiths. There you
What's up, big little sis?
Hey, Portia for president.
The officers, I don't think I realized that it was 18 minutes after. I do think the officers were a little aggressive, but to me, it, now what? Like you've gotten into this situation, it got physical, but to me, in the long run, it hurts you, your career, and those students because more than likely you're going to lose your job. So to me, what was the point of you obliging the officer or meeting the officer where they were? Because they're still going to have a job. They are not going to get fired. I mean, they kill people and don't get fired, you know. So now you as the director of bands have done this in front of your student. You're probably going to lose your job. They're probably going to have to find a replacement. We don't know what that looks like. To me, the band director had more to lose than the officer. And so I would have probably been like, you know what, that's all right. And then tried to handle it later, to Quan's point. Like, you know, this is what was said to me. This is how it was said to me. This is how this could have gone. And so in the future, how do we make sure that this kind of stuff doesn't happen? Now, 18 minutes after, I mean, I don't know how many songs they wanted to play, you know, or whatever the rules are, but I do think the officer was aggressive, if I'm being honest. It was given, I want to have an altercation with somebody. But I just think in the long run, the band director and those students lose as a result of this.
I'm gonna actually go a step further here for a second. So so y'all flow with me on this for a second. Um, let's talk college NCAA rules, because the truth of the matter is those NCAA rules have trickled down to most of our high schools. I'm pretty sure that everybody in here who's watching, everybody who's here, remembers a time when we just could play all day and there was no issue. But now, when you start talking those NCAA rules from the university perspective first, when do bands get to play? Right? If you get there early enough for a zero quarter, you may get a couple of tunes out. But you
When the team don't have the ball, when your team don't have the ball,
but when your team doesn't have the ball,
That's not how that works up
but
here. You can't play up here for the MEAC. You can't play when either team has the ball until after the
Tell it,
snap.
Portia.
It doesn't matter
to
who
the
team
snap.
has it. You can't play until after the snap, no matter who it
Correct.
is.
So
So
so here's the problem. But here's the problem. You can't play after the snap. Now they bringing DJs into this thing. And the DJs can play all daggone day. But the band can't play for nothing. And then you get your little halftime, but they didn't cut halftime down. And then you go back to the third and fourth quarter, and you still can't play till after the snap. And then you get the fifth quarter, and depending on where you at, you can only get maybe 2 or 3 songs, and you out. Now, the other problem that I have with all of this, and I've been saying this since I was teaching in Beaumont, was at what point, if any of these kids go to the league, are they going to tell the crowd to be quiet because it's too loud? Please tell me. I'll wait.
Brother, let me chime in. With that being said, you know the decibels. We're gonna talk a little science. You know the decibels at an average game is way higher than what that band is putting out. Now I know we love wattage. I know we love talking about how much wattage the band is putting out, but nothing is putting out more decibels than that crowd, especially in some of these games where it is that packed. Hell no. I think we have to kind of just face the fact that it's kind of that movie. It's like this movie title. They're not that into you. They're just not that into the band playing. It's and they just keep coming up with more reasons why the band can't play. They only want it's almost at the point where they want the band to do to play for like the football team coming out before the game, halftime, and you might as well just pack up after. I'm telling you, there's been times where the refs was telling us to be quiet so much. Back to sometimes you just bow out. All right, band, pack up. We leaving. We rolling out. We pack up, because there's no point us being here. We done the show, and every time we play 5.5 seconds of a song, they like the ref looking at you, you looking at them, and you like, okay, but we see the ball. I'm watching the game. Especially if you're a woman, they don't think we're watching the game at all. I know what it looked like to snap a ball. Like, I'm not dumb, but they especially when I was, I said no, let's just go. And I feel like sometimes there's a lot more power in that in just saying let's go. I'll deal with you later. I'll deal with you. That's when you get your parents on board. That's when you have that, I call it the after party. When it's time to meet on Monday morning and express your angst. And if you got as many parents as I know Minor High School has, they have a hell of a program. I've seen it with my own eyes. That's when you sick the people that everybody's afraid of. Parents. You sick parents, especially as a public school educator, because that fight as a teacher is a losing battle by yourself. It just is, especially 18 minutes after the game. It's a losing battle, even if you're almost finished, even if you know that it's not an imminent danger. We just know that they're just not that into us. They're just not.
But see,
But
so
but
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
now, but that's my whole point. Uh, to Crystal's point is you live to fight another day. The way we all know that the real stakeholders and what public and students, because parents and students equals dollars and cents. So I can't fight you physically. I'm gonna lose. I don't my arms, my reach is not long enough for that. However, if we say, oh, we're gonna boycott this game, and I'm gonna be 1,000 with you. If every black college band, and unfortunately I don't see us doing this, but if every black college band decided, hey, we not gonna go to these games, and it will affect the dollar amount, it will change. Also, and I'm gonna be real, one of the SWACs, I'm speaking my SWAC's biggest alumni is Southern. One of Southern University's biggest alumni association is the Human Jukebox. Could you imagine if Southern was like, "Nah, we're not going to the games because they don't want us to play"? Do you know what that trickle down effect will cause? Like, we have the powers and numbers, but you gotta fight where it hurts their pockets. That's the only way you're gonna win. That band director, like Crystal said, should have sicked the parents on them and been like, well, look, whomever those officers are, we're going to reprimand them. But to everybody's point, 18 minutes after the game is over, bro, let's go home.
Right.
I'm just being real. Let's go home.
And so and I want to backtrack just a little bit. When we start talking about, they don't want us there, so on and so forth, I also feel like a lot of these rules have some merit to PWIs. Without ban, HBCU games are not a game. But and I'm gonna use them right now because they the hot ticket. You take Colorado band out of there, don't nobody care. I don't even think they care that they're there now. So, the point that I'm trying to make is these rules work well for the ones that aren't us. So now getting back to this now situation with the high schools, those rules, and I don't know what the rules and ramifications are in Birmingham, so I'm not going to act like I know. But if those things are in place,
Did Julian go out or is that me?
I'm still talking.
I think that's you. I can hear Portia.
You probably went through the tunnel or something. I mean, I know you didn't, but still. But no, if those ramifications are, or if those things are in place at the high school, then that does leave question to say, well, when do they play? If, because for what we do, it's a battle zone. And so when they get to that fifth quarter time, they ready to battle. Now, I agree. Carry your butt home. You know what I'm saying? You could deal with that later. Like I said from the beginning, there was a better way that he could have handled that. Off jump, get out my face is just not the way to be able to handle something when you're dealing with an officer. It's just not. You know,
But but Julian, I feel like again, for him to say that, somebody had to tell that man something. And I'm just assuming, bro, because nobody just be like, bro, get out my face.
I disagree. And the only reason why I disagree is this. Again, this goes back to the young brother who the officer spoke to first. Because again, that guy was supposed to be the buffer between the officer and Mims. He should have handled that situation before the officer even got to Mims. So my thing is, if the officer deliberately moved past this brother to get to Mims, well, then at that point, Mims is looking like, well, I'm thinking my guy handled it. He didn't handle it, or he disrespected my guy because he walked past him and just completely came to me as he was supposed to be talking to him. So in my mind, you've already disrespected my guy while I'm sitting up here trying to conduct my kids. So in his mind, he's like, well, we just going to be disrespectful today. Get out my face. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not saying he was right in that. I'm just saying that could be a perspective that he took.
But
Um,
in the end, go ahead.
no, no. Go ahead.
But in the end, wasn't worth it. Like I ain't like what's crazy, and it's like we all fall short of the glory, bro. But what I realized, like, man, I had a situation, bro. We performed at the Creole Festival that's in Houston last Saturday, right? And as we're walking back, this random guy just walked through the band, like as we was walking back to the bus. And one of my tuba players was like, "So excuse me, like the line is about to end. Please walk, walk around, like wait." That man took the kid and was like, "Say, bro, don't touch me." Now I ran up on him. So now I'm like, we gonna go at it because he was respectful. The dude ended up calming down and was like, "I apologize." I was like, "Nah." I said, "But you disrespected the kid." You feel what I'm saying? Now, what if I'd have ran up, started swinging? Because my kids was like, "Say, bro, we was about to jump at Mr. Mitchell." Like, I'm like, "Nah," because in the end, all the news is gonna say is this band from this neighborhood was fighting. Sometimes, bro, you gotta. I hate to say, like, you gotta bite your lip
so that you could save your face. And real talk, that was a moment, bro. Just go home, because then you could have reported it, and then you would have looked like the person that I de-escalated my own situation. Like, we need to improve, police relations with these students. But you was with them, you was with the shits too. Just being honest, bro. Like, I don't know.
Um, I wanted to circle back to something you asked about, when do bands get to play? So we had a contract with Loyola University to be their pep band. And that's when I first experienced the script daddy. And at this point, I don't, one, we know that they're not going to end fifth quarters. It's just not going to happen culturally down there. But I do think it's going to be regulated. I keep saying, you know, Robert Champion didn't end band, but it sure as hell changed band.
I,
And
I agree. Hold on,
I
wait, wait.
don't think it's going to stop, but I do think it's going to be regulated. So
I
you going
agree.
to get that script. You gonna get that. You could play for 2 minutes. You can play for 2 minutes. You can play for 1 minute. And if you don't play, if you play outside of that time, they're gonna find you. That's just what happens. That's what happens up here. My spring concert, I have to pay for the police officers. That comes out of my budget. That don't come out the school budget. So that way, if you go overtime, that's coming from your pocket. That's coming from your program. And it kind of, it may not feel good, but it makes you kind of regulate your own self when you have to pay the overtime for the police officers, or even just for them to be present. You got to pay for your own hall, or you got to rent the space, or you got to whatever. Um, I just think it's gonna be regulated. I don't think it's gonna stop. And people always think Crystal always going all the way left. No, because I watch it every time. I deal with ed policy, and in education policy, nobody wants to be sued. So to keep from being sued, they are going to regulate the times. Everybody gonna have a script. Athletic directors gonna say this is what we decided. Maybe band directors will be included. Maybe they won't. Um, to be quite honest, every year our time for halftime got shorter and shorter. Went from 10 minutes apiece to 8 minutes. And then year we got 6 minutes and 30 seconds. And everybody was having a fit about it. We can't do a show in 6 minutes and 30 seconds. I said, watch me. So, everybody says it's not gonna happen until it happens.
I want to add something a little something to this though. Now, I do want to say this again. He was playing neck, right? So let's be fair. It's neck. I mean, it's neck. Come on. But let's be real. You in the middle of the song. At what point, you know what I'm saying? If your kids is hype, the band in your mind is sounding good. I mean, they may not be sounding good, but in your mind, they sound great. You really want to cut them off in the middle of the song? Like I'm not saying, again, here we go. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I'm not saying this is something I actually agree with, but I'm just saying hitting them right in the middle of the song on the tuba break and just bump, 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 bump. All right, let's go. You see what I'm saying? Like, you want to finish that daddy out, especially if you were going back and forth with this band. I'm just saying, this is the thought.
Julian, I have a question for you.
Hey,
I
I
don't
said,
know what a phrase is.
I have a question, Julian. Have you ever had a real bad run-in with an officer?
a bad one, no.
All jokes aside, I pray
Oh
in
yeah, yeah,
Jesus'
yeah,
name.
yeah. I had to think about when I was 16. Yeah, but go ahead.
Well, I pray in Jesus' name you never have any more. But when you have a real bad one, bro, where like one may draw a firearm on you, like you really like you ain't no boy, but you realize like their go time is different. You feel what I'm saying? Like when you've had run in with officers, bro, like we used to call them jump out boys where we from, where you could be walking down the middle of the street and you see a caravan of unmarked cars, they jump out and slam you on the ground. Like we've had run like when so it's and I'm not saying you're intimidated or you scary, But you just realize, man, pick your battles, bro. At that point, when more and more start to surround you, because let's be real, one officer don't be good enough. One may just be like, say, bro, calm down. When two come around, they start showing off. When three come around, they gonna show you better than they can tell you. When four come around, guess what? You know they gonna handle you. It's no different than, everybody know if you get pulled over and you got one car, you're all right. But when that second one pull up behind you, you going where? You about to go to jail. Like you just gotta know it, bro. And I just feel like at that point, pick your poison, dog. Pick your poison. It don't make it right, but it's a reality. That's the difference. What we gotta understand. There's a difference between right and reality. The reality is, bro, they told you once, they told you twice. Now they gonna flex their muscle because you got another female. We already told y'all. All right, bro, I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna go home. Let me get your badge number, but I'm going home. It, uh, it wasn't worth it. Not to me. Not in
No,
front of your kids. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say I agree. Again, I'm just playing devil's advocate on that one. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I again, and this just goes back to what I said at the beginning. There were better ways that the director could have handled that. I don't disagree with that at all. Yes, I can always argue for the fact that the officer could have done things better on his side too. But again, you're dealing with an officer or officers. You could have handled that situation a lot better. So I don't disagree.
So and then like I said, I know everybody got their opinion. You did, and I'm looking at brother Mister Law, our outlaw. You right. It's not your job to regulate the officers, but it's your duty to regulate yourself and honestly have a sense of discernment to be like, bro, is this gonna be the best outcome for me? Like and let's be real. I'm not scary by a long shot, but I know for a fact the law is not on my side in this situation. So what? Like I ain't trying to be funny. Bless God that he got tased because if he would have been maybe in another environment or another event, they might have would have killed him. That's my whole point. He would have been somewhere else outside with kids. They might would have killed him. So while everybody's saying, "Man, it ain't this, it ain't that," think about that next time. Man, dog. I've seen people murdered. That's the difference with me. I've seen people take their last breath. I'm not about to put it in the hands of a person that already got an anger issue, but they got a badge, so they got immunity. Man, I'm not about to play with you. Man, let's go home. You could call them scary or whatever. Let's go home. That's the difference with me.
No, again, I don't disagree, man. Again, a lot of this, reminds me of my years with PV because the truth of the matter is I wasn't having these situations before PV. Those years when I was, with my high school group, we weren't dealing with those particular types of situations. One of the bigger major situations that we used to always have conversations with officers with was Cotton Bowl. Every year at Cotton Bowl, they come to the stands. All right, it's time to wrap it up. We got to clear them out. Y'all ain't paying our overtime. They always saying something. But again, that goes to one, keeping a cool head, and two, being the buffer between the band director. Between me, Brown, and Hop, we never, got to a point to where they needed to get to Dr. Zachary unless it was something important because of the fact that we would have the conversations with them first to make sure that we are all communicating on the same page. Because then it would just be a conversation of, all right, this is our last song. Can you let us wrap it up? All right, after this last song, y'all got to shut it down and get the kids out of here, man. We got to clear out. All right, no problem. We got you. And then whoever's on the podium, hey, this is our last one. We got to wrap it up. You see what I'm saying? So there's those conversations definitely matter. If you have assistants, those assistants matter. Um, but what I want to do is he's in here. Well, he's down there now. I don't know if he's ready. But I want to go ahead and bring him in and let's get some thoughts from his perspective. Brother James, who's in law enforcement, but is also a former member of the Box and the Storm. So, what's going on, Larry? Yeah, we got you, Smith. Yeah, just I would want to know from your perspective as a law enforcement officer, but also as a student who has marched before, who has been in the band, so on and so forth. Um, what did you see? What things do you feel that were the right things, and then what do you feel like were the wrong things?
Uh, okay, so I I mean, most people want to start with wrong first, or because it's easier to do. Um, in that sense, to be totally honest, I put my camera on here in a second. When we have situations like that, nobody wins. Um, it set everybody back. It set the police officers back. It set the band director back. It set the school system back. It set the kids back. So it's kind of hard to say what was done right, because if it was done right, we wouldn't be talking about it, and we wouldn't be. This wouldn't be a topic of discussion. So I don't believe anything was necessarily done right, because these two individuals, or multiple individuals who were involved, was not able to resolve this without some form of uh, force used by the police, and by the embarrassment that was handed to the band director. So it's kind of hard to say, oh, this was right or that was right, but what was wrong? I mean, let's I think the totality of it. Um, when the video starts, there's a 30-second buffer on every body cam, that before you engage somebody, once you turn that body cam on, it goes back 30 seconds from when you actually engage that person. So the officer, if you're looking at the video, it would appear that the officer is like walking up, and before he walks up, he then starts to talk to the guy. But that's not how those body cameras work. The body cameras actually, he was probably already talking to the person, and probably already trying to get the person to stop and try to already say what he needed to say, and the person was ignoring him, which caused him to turn his body camera on. And that's why the 30-second buffer goes back, and you see him walking up. But from my experience, the body camera is only capturing what was seen before he actually made contact. At that first contact with the gentleman that I guess either was a band director or was a band spokesperson, it was kind of crappy, for this guy to be telling them, hey, it's time to wrap it up. And like you said, y'all wouldn't let officers get to dock before y'all would acknowledge what the police officers were saying. This guy was it almost was like he was kind of ignoring them, and kind of shutting him off, which caused the officer to say, okay, well, you're not the guy I need to talk to, because you're not even acknowledging what I'm saying, or acknowledging the fact that I'm saying it's time to go. So I'll go talk to the band director, who's on the podium currently directing, which, if that was, if the guy initially would have said, "Hey, he's directing. I can talk to you. I can handle this. I'll guarantee that. Once we're done with this song, we'll be over." He didn't do that. He just kind of stood there from the video perspective of what I saw. And when he did that, I gotta admit, as an officer, we have a complex. It's hard to get out of. It's hard to unlearn, but the longer that you're in this profession, the longer you have it, to where we're gonna ask you to do something, we're gonna tell you to do something, and then we're gonna make you do it. And many have argued that that type of policing is wrong, or that type of policing needs to be changed. But that is kind of the basis of it. Is hey, I can ask somebody to do something nicely, and then I'll kind of command them to do it with my authority, and then if I can't get them to do it and they're disobeying that order, I'm gonna make them do it. And we've been taught that. That's how you know kind of like the unspoken rules of how it goes. So once that officer wasn't able to get through to the first gentleman, he then started to go to the band director. And this is where it really gets wrong to me. uh I think that band director saw the officer talking to the other guy, and had already had a notion where I'm going to be defiant towards this officer if he comes up to me, rather than saying, being the professional and saying, well, if he couldn't talk to my assistant or whoever that guy was, I then need to be the professional to ensure that this doesn't escalate or go any further. But the first thing that the band director was saying was like, "Get out of my face." Is that And that's kind of crazy to say that to an officer. Period. It's crazy to say that to a man, you know, outside of a uniform, um, especially in that type of setting. You're a professional. You are leading children. You are leading a band program for a school district. You gotta learn how to talk. And the first thing that comes out of your mouth is "get out of my face." I mean, that's probably one of the most unprofessional things you can say to a person. So, let alone an officer. So that, of course, didn't resonate well, nor did it go well. But I think that, and I'm only speaking on the wrongs of the directors before I get to the officers, and just the overall deal. Um, but yeah, it wasn't going to be good for him, because he kind of started to antagonize the officers who had already told him, "Hey, it's time to wrap it up. It's time to wrap it up," and it just didn't look good, and it caused those officers to then have to act how they acted. Um, Now, speaking on the officers' behalf. To be totally honest, I think they lost their cool, and they had all the resources to do what they needed to do. However, they chose to go the route of using physical force over something that was a verbal disagreement, and that could be viewed as aggressive or as excessive. And in this day and age, man, if you can avoid using any type of force, you kind of need to do that. We don't want to appear to be bullies. We don't want to appear to be um, people who aren't understanding, and that's kind of how we look these days. We look like bullies. Officers look like we're overly aggressive, we're overly assertive, and we do too much. And those officers should have known that. We have all these types of de-escalation trainings and courses that uh, help us learn that, hey, physical force needs to be the last thing that we use. And also, man, the resource of this guy, he works for the school. It's not like he's somebody that you don't know, that you just have to apprehend at that very moment. No, you know him. He's the band director. He can't get away from you. You're gonna see him Monday morning. So if he doesn't, follow the protocols in which you're asking him, you don't have to do anything, man. You can leave, and Monday morning I'll see you. I have you on my body cam. I'll show the superintendent, like the female officer stated, and we'll do, but you're gonna go to jail, and that these kids are around, these parents are around, and everybody are around. Y'all saw.
You
Hello,
still
y'all still there?
there?
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
I felt like I was getting long winded.
No, well,
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
it
no,
just
you were giving some great stuff, man. I was just kind of really just really taking it all in, Pauls. So, and just to clarify,
yeah.
you have done, you have worked some band events or football games, correct? Spence. Did he, you there? Dang, I think he,
I think in 2017. Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, he was with the Storm in 2017.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I just wanted to make sure that we got that on record. That he has.
So, but not only working. Yeah, y'all can hear me.
Yeah, we got you.
Hello. Okay. Not only working with the Storm, but also, I worked with high school programs before that. And the one thing about it, that you got to have grace for is that it's not gonna last. It's gonna go longer than what you plan. Like they'll give you a time frame and say, "Hey, we're gonna have this event from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m." And you look up, it's like 10:30, 10:45, y'all, and it's still going, and it's nowhere near looking like it's going to shut down. You know, while it's frustrating, that's something that the directors, the officers, and the coordinators who put all this stuff together need to sit down and say, "Hey, guys, this is what's going on. It's you know, it's going over. Whether we need to pay y'all extra or we need to have some of y'all cut out and some of y'all stay or whatever the case may be. It just communication is the best thing, and it sounds like in that situation, nothing was communicated correctly, which resulted in those officers having to physically go up to those directors and try to get them to stop the band mid playing. So
Do you feel, or watching the video, did you feel like the tasing needed to be implemented?
so for a taser to be deployed, right, there has to be a level of force that is greater or equal to for you to justify even using that taser. Um, the fact is, they were telling they were telling the crowd and members inside, in that crowd, that this guy is going to jail, and that crowd was physically stopping those officers for attempting to make an arrest on that gentleman, as well as him physically resisting the arrest as well. So that is, in the eyes of force and how the use of force continuums work. If this guy is physically resisting me attempting to place him under arrest, then he was totally justified in stepping that level of force up, which is using the taser or another less than lethal weapon, or weapon that he have on his person. And it's personal preference. Was he justified in doing it? Yeah, yes, he was. He told that guy, plenty of times, place your hands behind your back. He if I looked at the video correctly, he even placed a handcuff on him and was not able to place the other one on him because the crowd was physically trying to pull this guy away and wasn't allowing him to do it. So, that's a danger, in itself. So, should the taser have been utilized? I don't want to Monday morning quarterback that guy, but was he able to affect the arrest to effectively get this guy under control and place him in custody? Yeah, he was. Did he do it justifiably? Yes, he did. Would I have done it? I mean, it's hard to say. It's really hard to say. Would it even have gone that far? It's very hard to say. It's personal preference. I'm just a person in this day and age that feels like we as officers have a horrible reputation. So I'm going to try to do my best not to continue to make that reputation appear to be what it is. So, you know, I think about it like, if I don't have any type of use of forces, that means I had a good day. If I don't have any use of forces for the month, I had a good month. Use of forces for the year, I have a good year. But also, the the point is when you have those type of use of forces, when you have those deals, it's more so of like, what is it going to be perceived to look like? You know, again, they know who the gentleman is. If you're saying, hey, I want to arrest this guy, I want to arrest this, and he's not allowing you, you know who he is. You can let him go. Bye. Go with your band. I'm going to see you Monday, or I can look up where you stay. I can come to your house. Give me 1 second, guys. But I'm still listening.
So while he's doing that, so Portia, do you think that situations like this is going to change the landscape of how we deal with fifth quarters and so on and so forth?
Um, Unfortunately, yes. It may not impact the college level yet. But I think high schools, I mean, this thing went viral. I think high schools are going to be impacted by this. I don't know if it's going to reach the college level yet, but now on the high school level, they may say you can't play after the game. So if you can't play during the game, you can't play after the game, what's the point of being at the game?
That
So I don't know. And I miss some of it because y'all say Verizon is the greatest, and my home internet is down, so I'm on my phone hotspot. But um, I I don't know. I don't think it's gonna have good come out of this. I do think, especially in that area right now, and then we'll probably see it spread. But I don't know, because then if you start taking away the ability to play after a game, I don't know what that looks like going forward. Are
um
bands just doing halftime now?
I mean, and to be quite honest, don't too many bands care about
I
halftime
don't
now
know.
anymore. So that's gonna be a struggle. Um, one of the things that I really just did not like is how the news is kind of spinning this particular thing. Portia, you brought up that it went viral. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, today was the day that the body cam footage came out. And with that being said, or I think it was yesterday. It was either today or yesterday. But anyway, but with that being said, one of the things that the news is running with, they're not even starting from the beginning of the body cam footage. They're starting from the get out my face footage. And so they're kind of exiting out all the stuff that happened previously, which is the rest of the context, and it just makes Brother Mims look like just the aggressor off top. And I appreciate Larry being honest with the fact that he's like, yeah, we do kind of have them situations. You know what I'm saying? Like, we do kind of have those situations, or those, I don't necessarily say you want to call it ego, but those moments where we kind of feel like we got to be that way, or so on and so forth. Um, Quan, let me ask you this question. Since all of this has been going down, has there been any conversations with you and your students, or has there been any conversations in the district, so on and so forth?
Hell no. I mean, nah. I mean, because I think the difference is in Texas. Like, let me just say, as of right now, people still respect and have a sense of respect and reverence for band. We still do. However, if this thing's come to a lawsuit, you will get memos. I don't, and that's the thing. Like Crystal attested today, she said Robert Champion did not kill a band, but it sure did change it. This will change bands even at the collegiate level, where they're gonna maybe give you a time limit and be like, "Hey, run these songs," or and if we're just gonna be fair, from a business aspect, a person to be like, "Well, we'll send y'all to a battle of the band," because let's be real, how many battle of the bands do we have already? So a person could honestly come at it from that point of view, our perspective too. This will affect, if a lawsuit comes about, this will affect band, and that's why I'm just saying, at the end of the day, was it all worth it?
And see, it's funny that you brought that up. That was literally right before you said it. I was writing battle of, and then you said battle of the bands right when I was writing that. Uh,
It's the kindred spirit.
absolutely, my brother. Absolutely. Um, and I think that this is what this is going to result to, right? Like you cut again, you could barely play. You cut all of this, and then now you may be regulating fifth quarters. The only thing that's going to be open and available is Battle of the Bands. Now we're going to be sending our high school kids to Battle of the Bands on multiple occasions, and now we're thinking about the stress that you got to deal with that because 9 times out of 10, the district ain't gonna fund that. So that's gonna have to come out of that director's pocket. And if that's the case, then them kids ain't gonna be seeing much many Battle of the Bands. You know what I'm saying? Because it's only so much funding that you can be able to get to be able to go to this Battle of the Band, this Battle of the Band, this Battle of the Band. You know, so I think that in the long run, I'm kind of understanding what you're saying. Was it all worth it? Was it necessary? Um, I just I don't know. There are so many different variables that have happened within this whole thing, and again, that goes back to the wrong on both sides. But somebody had to be the bigger person and make the right decision or the best decision possible. So going forward, let me ask this question. Let me ask you the same question that I asked Quan. Or have you guys had this conversation or been talking about it on the campus at Norfolk? That was Portia, by the way. Portia, Portia, can you hear me? Am I muted?
Nah, I can hear you, bro.
Hello,
I can hear you.
Portia. Why are you looking around like that? Can you hear me? Smids, what happened to your audio?
I
Hold up.
must be her. It must be her internet.
It gotta be the net. Hold
Yeah.
up. Let me see.
Hey, but I had one question that nobody asked tonight, bro.
Okay, well that's what you're here for.
Where was the administrator?
Very good question.
Where
Because the administrator is supposed to be at.
supposed to be there? So
Yeah,
real talk, that's a person that can get in trouble too, because you always have at least one administrator at every game.
yeah. That legally that's supposed to happen.
That exactly. So my question is, what administrator was there?
But
Because
but did the administrator leave after the game?
yeah, but you know, and I know that administrator does not leave till
Until
everybody gets on
everybody
the
clears.
bus.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. The administrator leaves when everybody clears the stadium. That's true. Ooh, that's a good one. That is a good one. That is a very good one. Um, ooh, that's good. That's good. Oh my gosh. Anyway, Portia, there we go. Oh, let me take your old person out. Boom. Oh Lord. Oh Lord. Oh Lord. I tried to. Okay, there we go. All right, but you didn't hear my original question? Are they having this conversation, or has this conversation come up in Norfolk?
No. Um we had got a new athletic director a couple of years ago, and we had like one situation where she kind of flipped out and was like, "Y'all need to leave. Y'all need to leave." Da, 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 after the Labor Day Classic, but the Legion alumni went up so bad um that we never had that problem again. But that's about it. Most of the time, they're not. A lot of bands don't come here, so we don't really run into this. In general, I don't know that we've ever been put out of a stadium or been pushed to leave. So no, we've not. Like we had that one situation when she first became the athletic director, when she was screaming and hollering and yelling at people to get off the track and to go. And your fellow alumni kind of went left
Smiths. So okay, there we go. Now you're moving. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Portia? No. Don't worry about it. Just stay there. Just don't move. Hopefully your Verizon will pop back in. We just gonna hope for that. We're gonna hope for the best. But that's interesting, and that goes back to what Quan was saying and what Crystal was saying, right? You know, and that's kind of basically what Portia was saying. The Legion didn't worry about it. Everybody else is, the spokespersons for the Legion did that. And again, that goes back to what I'm gonna say Portia Crystal Quan was talking about. Man, sometimes you got to pack your stuff up and go home, and then let the things happen as they should later on. So it's just
You
so
know, wait, Julian,
yo
Julian,
yo
Julian.
yo.
Hey, what's up? My bad. I'm back. Uh, look, eh, you know, think about it. I just want to piggyback on what Quan was saying on that note. Um, so multiple bands have faced this exact thing before. Man, working at Prairie View, working with high schools. That was actually one particular year, one while I was working with them, and one while I was a spectator. That this exact same thing happened. One was in 2017 when PV played Southern at Southern, um, and Doc had it in his mind that he was not going to not going to be marched out of the stadium before Southern started packing up, and he knew. He was like, man, we're gonna go at it with these guys, and he had it on his mind, and he told us like, hey, we're chilling. And so Southern police officers was actually like, hey, y'all gotta go. And so, we who were representing Prairie View at the time was like, we gonna go when they go. You know, but the whole time those officers were trying to go and talk to Doc, and we're like, no, don't talk to Doc, talk to us. Don't that's why we're here. Don't talk to them. But we were able to communicate the fact that, hey, we're all gonna leave at this time, we're all gonna leave at that time. And this is what's going on. And to where it didn't escalate how it possibly could have escalated with those officers doing the same thing, which is trying to go and say, hey, y'all got to leave right now, and all of this and all of that. So again, it just really works with that communication, the packing up and going home. But I also give another insight. I think it was 29. It was 2021 or 2022 when Southern came down to PV. The very same thing happened, but it was on a scale where the officers were trying to get the people and the band to leave the stadium after the game, when Prairie View and Southern were going back and forth. And, nobody moved. Like, nobody moved at all. Nobody budged, you know. And a couple of people were just like, hey, we do this. This is what we do. This is what it is. This is a real thing. If you don't like it, then go take it up with the administrators. But we've been doing this. Fifth quarter is a real thing. You had guys from like prevalent media sources and things like record bands and like Smash Time and all that was telling the officers this. And I remember those officers looking at them because I'm an officer. I'm like, I wonder how they're gonna handle this. And they actually looked at each other. They kind of congregated and said, all right, and they all walked off. They all just walked off and just walked to the end zone of the field and just let the band and everything, and everyone have their time and what they were supposed to have. And that in that situation, I look at it as those officers understood the totality of what was going on and were able to say, hey, we can't enforce any authority right now. We may can do it later, but right now we're outnumbered. We will look like buttholes if we try to shut this thing down. And we're actually listening to what people are. They were actually listening to what people were saying. So that all boils down to, again, like I said, those officers training of what de-escalation is and what how to understand situations further than just, hey, I'm telling you to do it, so do it. We can't operate like that anymore. So
Yeah, and so you said two things, and then I want to get ready to shut down. I know you got to go to do your job and hit the patrol daddy, get you some donuts. So
chill, bro.
so based on what you're saying, does educating the officers matter? Educating the
Definitely.
officers on what we do and what it is.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, by all means. Everybody has to take into the consideration of what's going on. Those officers, it looked like it was a high school game. So more than likely they worked a full, 8, 9, 10 hour shift and at the school, dealing with the juveniles and all the kids and the administrators and everything else. And then they worked that afterwards. They had to work the football game for like probably some type of mandatory overtime. So, I understood what the officers were saying. I understood why they were saying it. They wasn't getting paid for it. And even if they were getting paid for it, there's just a threshold of like, okay, it's time to go. Like, we're tired. I have a life. I have kids. I have a family. I don't want to listen. To them, I don't want to listen to noise. And so that is a strong consideration, but it's also what you signed up for, and you got to know that you signed up for that. You got to know that that's going to be exactly what it is, and you got to know that, okay, I'm at a high school football game. It looks like it's going to be a rival. And it's not going to just be a rival football team. It's probably going to be a rival band too, and they're going to want to try to do what they do, and you got to know that, hey, if I'm working at a school with a somewhat prevalent band program, I gotta learn what a zero quarter is. I gotta learn what a fifth quarter is. I gotta learn how they're gonna march out, which way they're gonna march out. Are they doing this? Are they gonna do that? And that goes with communication and just doing the job that you signed up for. You're a school resource officer. Everything involving that school, you have to be you have to be knowledgeable of.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And Portia, bless you. Um, last one and last question. Because you because you are a band student, is that the reasoning for your rationale and understanding and being a little bit more sympathetic of this situation? That's to Larry, by the way.
oh yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, yeah. I utilize everything that for me, I'm sympathetic to anything I'm a part of, anything that I have love for, and that I'm passionate about. That's the, I don't even want to say a prejudice, but that's the makeup of who I am. I would be remiss if I didn't say that if I work a band event, if I work an event that involves any type of music, I'm going to have more of a liking, and it's not going to feel like my job. It's going to feel like an event that I'm just going to, that I just so happen to protect the people that's there, and I get paid for it. So for me, yeah, definitely, I would definitely be more understanding, and even other officers that have been in the band, they're more understanding, but also the programs that have prevalent bands, are understanding. you know I don't want to say more so of like, I can only speak of my high school years. I can't imagine. Matter of fact, I never seen officers come up and tell Mr. Thornton at Willow Ridge, "Hey, it's time to go." I think that it was too much of a respect level for them and too much of a respect level from him, that they would probably just give each other a look that we never saw, that we never known, and we never were able to see as students. That Mr. Thornton said go, shit, we moved. He could stop us, mid song. He could stop us with whatever we're doing and say it's time to go, and uh, no one batted an eye, hesitated. Yeah, we talk noise, but we talk noise walking or marching to the bus, and that was the level of respect that we had for him, and that was the level of respect that he had for everyone else. and vice versa. You just didn't see that. But again, I think the communication, I think the level of respect, and everything that plays a part into how something functions just wasn't there in that video, and that's why we saw what we saw.
Mm. Man, I appreciate you for coming in, man. I know I called you, I think it was yesterday, and was like, "Hey, I,
Yeah.
I want you to come in and talk about this." And honestly, guys, and I told him I actually had one of my good friends. He's a coach, lined up to come in as well, but it's football season, so he's doing the football thing, so he just was unable to make it. But no, Larry, again, I appreciate you coming in, man. I know you gotta get to your patrol, brother, but again, I appreciate you. Thanks, man, for just giving some insight from your perspective, the officer's perspective, man. So thanks again, bro.
Oh, thank y'all for having me, man.
Absolutely, bro. Anytime, anytime. All right, man. See you.
It was a
Man, so this is just I'm gonna wait to see what this looks like and how this thing plays out. Ike asked a very good question. Do you think that the location of the stadium mattered? Is because they were saying that the stadium was not in a good area. I think it could. I think it could have played a part. I'm not gonna say whether it did or didn't, but I think it possibly that's a possibility. If there's a
I
lot of situations where there's a lot of crime, they probably want to get the kids out of there a lot quicker.
Julian, not
You,
not not to prolong anything, but it's just a food for thought question for even the crowd and everybody on the panel. With all, like, in the last month, they had two shootings at football games. Maybe that had something to do with it too. But again, I just feel like the situation could have been handled better on both sides. Because
but
they
on
I
had
both
com-
sides.
they
I
had
completely agree.
yeah.
I think the officer was real aggressive. I don't know what's a lot. And I want to see the full thing too, Julian. I want to see what happened, and maybe before that, because maybe my opinion would be different. But I don't know. I just think it's probably gonna have the negative things that are gonna come from this weren't worth this situation. I think
I agree. Dang it.
because you about to lose your job.
You were about to lose your job.
Yeah.
You were about to lose your job. Put this down. You about to lose your job because you are detaining me for nothing. No, but one variable I just randomly thought about was, what if the officers had spoken to the other band prior to speaking to Mr. Mims? But because Mr. Mims was unaware that those officers spoke to the other band, in his mind, when that band completed their song, he wanted to get his last song out and was probably like, well, it's unfair because you saying something to me, but you ain't say something to them. You see what I'm saying? I mean, it's just so many different variables.
But why does that, bro? Like, but again, I'm going back to the reality of there's certain things we know, and I know we got to end the show. There's certain things we do know. He was asked to stop. At one point, they went to somebody else. The man didn't, convey the message well enough. The man didn't stop. On the first encounter or approach to the officer, he said, "Get out of my face." At the end of the day, and I'm not scary by a long shot, but it's certain aspects. My phone. Can you hear me? My bad. I got an incoming call. All right. So it just get to a certain point where you have to say, "Hey, live to fight another day." Like, I saw somebody in the comments say he was a bus driver too, so kids had to go on the football bus. So think about that, about the well-being of the students. Do I flex and show my ego too and lose?
It ain't that serious, bro. You could have had them parents write up a whole aspect of to the chief of police what the agency that he worked at and be like he was aggressive, he was rude with all what's going on at an African American football game and the kids doing something positive. All of that you could have wrote up and your hands would have been clean. But your hands is just as dirty as them as an educator because we do go through training as well. And even though our training maybe unrealistic in that perfect uh uh PPR world, how they want us to act, but the reality of it is they're holding us accountable for that. So I pray that that man keeps his job. I really do, because I don't want to see him lose his job. But I'm pretty sure sitting back. Sorry, got another call. My bad. My whole point is at the end of the day, he could have legitimately said, "Bruh, I'm gonna live to fight another day."
So are you saying, Quan, that he should have cut off in the middle of the song?
Bro, what I'm saying is when you get to that phrase, the down be the one, while my hands would have been, I'd have raised my hands up and held my hands up till it got to the point where I wanted to cut it off to where it wasn't bad. But I would have showed some aspect of we about to go. Because it ain't worth it in the end.
No, no, I understand.
Yeah.
I was just seeing what your perspective was.
Yeah.
Quan said he's not gonna get to the crank up section. If it's on the tuba and you get one quarter note on the downbeat, that's what you get, and that's it. That's basically what he's saying.
What what
Yeah.
what Quan is basically saying, I've had enough. Again, I ain't no punk, I ain't no sucker, I ain't no none of that. But what I do know is that's something real talk that at the end of the day that I know right now in this moment I'm not gonna win.
Right.
I don't give a damn. Everybody a gangster until you got a person that could shoot you. And honestly, people could say, well, it's justified. I've seen people get choked to sleep and die, and they say it was justified. Like, man, like, nah, bro, I'm not gonna win in this moment
And I
because of
just think once they asked him to put his hands behind his back, he should have just chilled.
That was my thing, right? Because he had already they said we gonna arrest you. He gave a thumbs up, like, all right, cool, all right, no problem. Once he cut that song off and stepped down the podium, he should just went ahead and, all right, come on, just take me. You know what I'm saying? But that was my perception. But it didn't happen that way. I'm really going to try to wait to see what happens and how this thing unfolds. Again, this is one of those moments where I try to be respectful of people's time, but sometimes the conversation is just too good, and we just got to keep going a little bit longer. But I do want to go ahead and say I appreciate Larry for coming through, and I want to publicly say the ladies on last week, Quan, I don't know if you caught it, but the ladies on last week learned me something last week, boy, because it was some stuff that I didn't even know nothing about. Again, Portia, and I appreciate you. Obviously, I always appreciate you. I love you, but just because Portia, I had to text her. I said, Portia, you just took over that show last week, didn't you? I asked one question and she just was like, I got it. But no, I appreciate Justice and Apri and T for coming through. That was just a super dope moment. T said she's ready to come back at any point, whenever she's ready. She said, just call me. I was like, all right, cool. We're gonna be calling you off the hook now. Don't be surprised. But no, man. Again, I appreciate Laird for coming through. Quan, any final thoughts? Anything you got for the culture?
Yeah, bro. Then at the end of the day, please don't forget to support our fundraiser. We still have about a day and a half left for the Double Good popcorn. Please, everything counts. All of the proceeds will be going towards our charter buses for our Langston University trip, which is October 7th. This is one of our biggest events for the year, and the students are look forward to it. Um, We went through a lot of district changes, and unfortunately, we don't have some of the financial help and backing that we used to have. Nevertheless, God will make a way, and so just be prayerful for us for this year. I'm blessed to say our band program has grown. This is the first time in, let me see, it's 2023, and about 10 years that the program has been with 50 instrumentalists total. So, I know to some people they may say that ain't nothing, but trust me, when you start off with 8 people, that is something big with no fee to paddle. We have about 70 people total. I don't know what that was. We have 70 people total with auxiliaries and everybody. So the program is growing. God is good. Please support us. And at the end of the day, as educators, pick your poison, bro. Pick your poison.
I posted, he put it in the chat for the Double Good Popcorn. I also posted it or put it up on the screen so you can see it. That was a hand clap, brother. I was just trying to give you a hand clap of praise, for the growth that you are experiencing in your band room. But you just hit me with the Smiths. You just said, I don't even care about them hand claps.
I didn't hear
No,
it.
it didn't sound like that to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, because I didn't know what it was.
Yeah,
It
it
sounded
didn't
like
sound like a hand clap to
it sounded like a. I was like,
me.
what
Yeah.
was that?
Y'all didn't hear that?
Mm-mm.
No. Thank you, Portia. Thank you.
No, it didn't sound
I
like a
didn't even
hand
know.
clap.
You still don't?
I don't even hear it. Nothing now.
Smiths.
We need to practice on this new technology.
Well, it got some pros, and
Right.
we seeing some cons, but I appreciate the pros.
Yeah.
The pros are a lot better than the ones that we had before.
Yeah. I agree.
Anyway, Portia, any final thoughts? Anything you got for the culture?
Listen, this is coming from a reformed, fly off the handle, ask questions later. At a certain point, you just have to do what's best for all parties involved. And I get being passionate for your students. I get riding for what you believe in, but it's a certain way that will get you more out of the situation. I hope that this whole thing works out for that band director, for those students. But sometimes in those situations, you got to take the high road.
Word. Word. I didn't know that was a period, but all right, cool. Because I thought you were gonna keep going with something else. I'm gonna be quite honest. I think everybody has pretty basically said the same thing that I was gonna say. Obviously during this particular situation, it's definitely wrong on both sides, but sometimes somebody has to make the better decision. And honestly, the person with the gun is probably not going to be the one to make the better decision. So you have to make some smart choices. And for the love of God, if you're in front of your students, try to make the best decision for those kids. I definitely agree with Quan on that 100%. You are the person in charge. You are their father figure in that moment. So you have to make a fatherly decision by saying, I want to make sure I protect these kids. And so with that being said, man, I said I'm gonna watch this, watch how it unfolds. I really, really hope that it does not affect band programs, specifically HBCU band programs, inner city band programs going forward, because that is a part of the culture and what we do. I saw some very interesting comments when this thing was being posted around in some of the PWI spaces, and it wasn't the best thing that I could probably see. Well, I don't know why they playing afterwards anyway. They should just go home. Why do they want to play all? It's just so many different things, and so this aspect of what we do is part of the culture, and I really would not like to see it changed for any reason. While I would prefer to see a lot more better halftime shows, I still think that this is part of our culture. I'm gonna make the executive decision, guys. We're gonna take next week off, so we will not have a show on next week. We will come back the following week. But Crystal will be, if she feels better, Crystal will be here for her show that she has coming up this Friday, Diary Lady Band Director. So be prepared for that. We will take the week off next week, and we will be back the following week. I have absolutely nothing else. It's late. I'm tired. And that's it. We will see y'all in 2 weeks.